Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our first of the year catch up with Keeper. So I hope your January has all been off to a good start. I know for the Americans in the room, which I believe is most of you, unless the Canadians are significantly overrepresented, have been heads down in 1099 season. Hopefully you found it better this year than last year, unless you've been using Keeper for more than a year, in which case I still hope you found it better this year by virtue of the improvements that we've made. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and dive on in. One disclaimer, in case this is your first ever catch up with Keeper, if you have any questions, we will have time for them. Make sure to drop them in the Q&A portion at the bottom of the Zoom bar, and we will tackle them that way. All right. So since it is January, we're going to start right out of the gate with our 1099s updates, starting with the new 1099 tax 1099 payer info export. So if you use tax 1099, actually, regardless of whether you use tax 1099 or tax 1099 or any other e-filing solution, you'll see this payer info button. This will let you fill out a detailed card on your client. So you can see this is DemoCo, and you can fill out all of the information on DemoCo. And if you do that, when you then export to tax 1099, you will see that in the export format, all of the columns that relate to the payer will be filled out alongside all of the payee information that was already previously filled out. In case you are wondering why this is only happening in tax 1099 and not track 1099, it's because this is only a part of the tax 1099 export process. In track 1099, you manually write in the system, you manually write in the payer information, and then you only upload the payee information. Whereas in this case, in tax 1099, they have you upload both via the import. So that's why. One quick note I'll actually mention here, this was something that a few folks have asked in a few different places, especially with tax 1099. I think this is relevant. It may also be relevant for track 1099. One thing you will notice is we do have dashes in our tax IDs. So if you have 2 numbers and then a dash, and then I think it's 7 numbers, that we will recognize as an EIN in an export. Whereas if you have your format this way, we will export it as a social security number. So dash is definitely helpful for when you are exporting. You can see here, we recognize that this is an EIN based on the dash format. Okay, next in the wave of 1099's improvements, we added the ability to send custom vendor email templates, especially helpful if you send your vendors an initial W-9 request, and then you want to subsequently send them a maybe follow-up reminder email. Anytime you want to access your templates, that can be done, of course, from the client list, or just as a reminder, you can click this little arrow right here and pull up your templates, edit them, apply them right from here without needing to go back to the client list. So you can go over here to your emails, vendor emails. You can see I created one here, asking our vendor to, just as a reminder, to send them a 1099 or send us a W-9. And then we can go into our vendor requests and see any vendors that we're still waiting on, send them an email, and then use that custom email template that we've just created. All right, on to some other updates. We're going to go ahead and come down here to the profit and loss. And so for those of you who have created custom P&Ls, you can create custom or for those of you who haven't, allow me to introduce them to you. You can create custom P&Ls, save them, and then they become part of your review process. One of the types of customizations that you can make is you can filter on class or location in a particular P&L. And one of the things we added to this is we now have this filter positively identified on the report. So you can see here, this is filtering for class equals admin. Just a good way to make sure that you know what filters are being operated on which reports. All right. One other minor but important update in your transaction questions, we added the column to allow you to see comments on your transaction questions. Apologies if this was oversight at some point. I could have sworn we had this. Apparently we didn't. Anyways, we have it now. Let this be a lesson. If there is change that you want to see made to Keeper, please make your voice heard, and we will add it. And if there's something that you think might be deliberate oversight, it might have just, or might have been a deliberate design decision, it might just have been trivial oversight. So anyways, you can now see and leave comments on your transaction questions. All right. Another workflow improvement here on the close page, we now added the ability to add tags to any of your closing tasks in addition to your non-closing tasks, which we have also now renamed your custom tasks now that we've introduced tax tasks in your tax workflows. Okay. And then on to the one quick update in Xero. So we've talked about this update before, but it's now more broadly available and available in all parts of the app. And that is the ability to customize your P&Ls if you use Xero. So for those of you who are only or who are, I guess, QuickBooks loyalists or have never used Xero, Xero does not have a highly structured chart of accounts. Instead, they have no nesting in chart of accounts and no sub-accounts. And the way you recreate that structure is actually in the P&L or the balance sheet itself. Unfortunately, that is not exposed in the QuickBooks or in the Xero API. So we had to build our own version of it. So if you open up your P&L inside of Keeper, you'll see this configuration option, and you'll see this option to edit the layout. You open this layout editor, it will give you the option to create custom groups. So we can take these two, group them together, call this third group, third revenue group, other revenue maybe. You can also include accounts by code. So you can say, I want this to be anything between 4127 and 4146. And that will also automatically include any other accounts that include those account numbers. Or of course, you can do account starts with. In case we're not going to do this, we're just going to have this be manually grouped. So you can create these groups here, and then this gets used throughout the entirety of your reporting inside of Keeper. So importantly, that will show up in your reporting. That will also show up in your metrics. You can create metrics on these customized groups that you've created. And last but not least, you can also copy layouts to other clients. So especially if you have a standardized chart of accounts and you're using those aforementioned rules we talked about by account code, you can copy a layout to a bunch of different clients. In this case, we only have a couple of other Xero clients, but we can apply that as well. All right. Okay, moving on to our tax suite updates. I have a few updates to the tax suite since we launched it last month. First and foremost, when you're adding a client, you now have the ability to copy from another client. So you can copy from an existing client, choose which client you want to copy from. These are only the clients that have tax enabled, but you can choose any of them. And then the same basic way that copying closed data works, copying tax returns works as well. One other minor update, in your tax returns view, you can now filter on your tax return status. So it's just a minor thing, bringing the tax returns view to parity with the closed view as well. And last but not least, organizers are now available in the mobile app. Previously at launch, they were only available on web, the mobile web and desktop web, but now they are live in the mobile app. And actually, on that note, I am going to share my screen and show some other mobile app improvements that we've made to improve the navigation. So we'll go ahead and mirror my screen here. All right, so a few updates we've made. First and foremost, this action required tray now shows all of the actions that your clients need to take across all clients. So they can see the organizers that I mentioned are now available in the portal. They can work their way through those. I won't revisit the organizers here, but organizers still work. They can also see any transaction or non-transaction questions, and of course, jump right to those. And if they have questions in other accounts, that is now an action required item here as well, and they can see which questions they have in other accounts. A few other changes we made. We also changed the bottom nav here. So we put all of the questions just in one tab here, so we can see our transaction questions, our non-transaction questions, our questions for us, all right here. Clients can still filter so they can see which questions need your input, answered, or resolved. Same thing for non-transaction questions and questions for us. One note here, this preserves all of the same default filtering we were doing here. So basically any what's filtered in and showing by default is anything that might need the client input, or in the case of questions for us, anything that is not resolved. We also now added this central standardized view of all of your receipts. So now any client that emails or uploads or texts in a receipt can see anything, or any document of any kind can see all of the files that they've uploaded there. They can see the file themselves, and they can also see any memo that they uploaded to that. And of course, edit the memo as well. For other files, those are now available in your files section. And then last but not least, we have this new menu. That's where resources is now. And that is also where they can switch accounts if they want to go to a different file. And then the plus button remains unmodified. This is where clients can upload a file or take one of a receipt, for example, or they can also ask you a question directly from here. Okay, those are the latest updates to the mobile app. All right, couple more updates. Next one here is on the client list. We talked about this update before, I believe, but it was just in a private alpha, so this is now more generally available, and that is the ability to view financial information directly from your clients right here on the client list. So we have these 6 options by default, essentially revenue, profit, and gross profit for both the last month and the trailing 12. There, you can see revenue, net income for last month and last 12 months. And you can filter, so you can see, okay, who are my clients with the most revenue for the last 12 months, and see all of that information right here. If you want to refresh this data at any time, you can just click this refresh button, and that will hard refresh all of the data here. All right, and last but not least, email updates. So I go here into test facilities. First and foremost, for the folks in the alpha, you should now, I believe, see the new email history. This is what I was mentioning earlier. Shared email activity is now live. So any emails from any clients will be visible here in the email history section, which you can access by going to the portal and then email history. And then any emails to or from any contacts that are related to this client from both your practice email or the individual email are all here right as well. Okay. And then a note on emails. I'm sure folks are curious about the release date. It should be going live in ideally the next week or two. So we should have some more updates very, very soon. So keep an eye out on your email to see further updates about emails. All right. And now we'll open things up to the Q&A. First question is from John. Is Keeper optimized for Canadian tax environments? It is. We do officially support Canada. I can probably pull up a Canadian file here as an example. If you open up a Canadian file in receipts, for example, you're able to assign GST, HST to transactions, just as an example. So we'll auto pull the GST and HST and the amounts off of receipts. In this case, I guess it's HSTBC. And then you can also go in and edit line items, for example, on transactions. So you can add tax codes and change tax codes, things like that. So yes, short answer is it is built to support Canadian taxes. Okay, Michael asked, what is Track 99? Good question. Track 99 and Tax 99 are both e-filing solutions that you can use to file your 99s. Michael asked, what does Tax 99 do about vendors that haven't given their tax ID? I think it will still let you file them, but I am not. I personally use Track 99, so I don't know what Tax 99 does. Jamie asked, jumped in a minute late, is the payer info available in Track 99 exports? It is not, and that is a constraint of the Track29 import-export system. So the Tax29 import system has a field for payer info, but the Track29 one does not. So that's why we only support it for Tax29. Bonnie asked, I have created and saved a custom P&L, but it doesn't stay. I have to create it again. If you wouldn't mind, please write into our support chat and give us some more info there so we can take a closer look. Michael asked, what are tasks? I assume by this, either I misspoke or Michael's referring to custom tasks. So essentially, there are three core types of tasks in Keeper. There's what we call custom sections, closing sections, tax sections. The custom sections are just tied to the client. So they'll show up regardless of which close or tax return you're looking at. You'll always see all of the same custom tasks. And you can have unique, like custom groupable sections for any of your different task types. So that's what custom sections are. Closing sections are tied directly to the close that you're working on. And the closing tasks that are in these closing sections will automatically repeat and roll forward as you start new closes for each client. And then last but not least, tax sections, same basic idea as closing sections, but for tax returns instead of closing work. Okay, Sandy asked, I love having the ability to ask transaction questions via QBO's bank feed. I have several clients that I use assignable questions with. How can I change the assignee once it has been assigned to someone, i.e. the client responds with, please ask Bill about this. I will go to a client and show you. So first and foremost, if you have assignable questions enabled, your clients can actually reassign the question themselves. So if Bob is who you originally asked it to, and Bob wanted Bill to give the answer, Bob could just reassign the question to Bill directly without your intervention. But if he did nonetheless ask you this question and you wanted to reassign it, so I'm going to show you assignable questions enabled. So we've got this transaction question here. Let's say it's originally assigned to, second, we've got this question here is originally assigned to Ben Stein Alt. We can reassign it to Kenny, for example. Melanie asked, my resources don't show up on the mobile app. Will this be fixed? First thing to make sure is that you have resources enabled. So make sure this is included. Also, make sure you have resources. So it's in your portal settings and resources. Make sure there is something here. Assuming there is something here, then definitely this is just a bug and write into our support and we will take a look. Melanie asked, can we move document uploads from one client to another? So clients with related businesses upload to the wrong client. You cannot move these files, but you can copy the files. So for example, if you see move to, there's no option here. If you actually click copy file to, there is an option for related clients. And then this will show any clients that this client or that this contact, excuse me, has access to. So we can click copy to, and then we can move it to 1801 brands, for example. And then we can move it to their uploads inbox, or we can move it directly somewhere else. So yeah, basically, if you want to move it entirely, just copy it and then delete it. Brad asked, would it be possible to make the number of items shown on the screen a permanent setting so it doesn't have to be adjusted every time? In at least one place, this is currently possible, which is on the client list. It is a practice level setting. So in your practice settings, you can choose how many clients you want visible on the client list. In other places, we are still working on adding that customization. I believe there should be a candy on this. You can find it in attribute. All right, Michael asked, does the mobile app use the phone system's keyboard? Yes, it does. Follow-up question is, if not, can the keyboard be changed to something other than QWERTY, Dvorak, for example? Presumably, we just call to like open up the phone keyboard. So yeah, if you presumably have changed that to Dvorak, then it should show up appropriately. Okay, Sue asked, how can we be part of the email beta? So if you are not willing to wait like the 1 or 2 weeks that it will take to go live, I think there is a form Shayna or Lauren, if one of y'all can find that and post it in the chat, we can send that over to Sue. Okay, Courtney asked, I stopped using the Keeper plugin for Gmail because it was only adding the email and not attachments. Will the email feature add attachments if we move them to a task? The answer is yes. The Keeper emails will officially support attachments. Christy asked, if I delete an email in my email application, does it also delete it in Keeper, or will they stay in Keeper? Or am I completely misunderstanding what this feature does? It's a great question, actually. If you delete an email in your email application, it will also be deleted from Keeper. Essentially, the way you can think of Keeper is it's like an email client. So things that you do in Keeper will also affect your email, and things that you do in your email will also affect Keeper. So we try to keep this is very similar to our integration with QuickBooks. We try to keep your email canonical, which is to say, we're just like looking into your email inbox. And so, for example, in that feed that's showing all your shared email activity history, it is looking into all the inboxes at once. It is not like creating a parallel view. So recapping, if you delete an email in your Gmail, for example, that will also not show up in Keeper. Itza asked, when will the tax feature be available for smaller firms? At this time, the emails or the tax feature is only going to be available to firms that have 20 connected clients or have signed a contract for that. Terry asked, I have a client that has historically stalled Keeper due to the sheer volume of inventory transactions. Is there any way to link Keeper up to Qubia without linking the inventory transactions? Terry, if you wouldn't mind shooting us a message in support, we do actually have some approaches where we can help make high volume transactions more performant. So yeah, shoot us a message and we will help you take care of that. All right, John asked, what is the best way to learn how to use Keeper? Is there a recommended course or book? We have been for a long time, we're working on a certification course at some point. Hopefully this year that will go live. What I will say is, in my personal opinion, the single best resources are available on our YouTube channel. So Shayna or Lauren or whoever from the Keeper team is available in the chat. If y'all want to drop that into the webinar chat, we can put that there. But yeah, John, the emails, or we have a ton of videos that are like getting started with Keeper series, and that's probably my recommendation there. Adrian asked, email function, can you choose which email addresses Keeper has access to? Yes. So for starters, the sort of main email that is connected is your practice email. So if you go to your client portal, branding, this practice email that you connect is essentially the first email that will be connected in your Keeper emails. From there, individuals can connect or not connect their practice email, their individual user emails. And then you as an admin have the ability to choose who can connect or not connect their emails. Okay, Greg asked, will we soon be able to assign different cadences for specific closing tasks? For example, a client who only gets a quarterly statement, so you can only rec once a quarter. Definitely something that has been asked quite frequently. So I don't have an immediate time frame on that, although best recommendation there is to jump on the Canny, and we will update that as soon as it goes live. Elaine asked a question about some load time issues. If you wouldn't mind just dropping into the chat, we will take a closer look and see if there's something going on in your file. Heather asked, can we get filtering options in all client settings, like sort by bookkeeper? This is an interesting idea. Not something that we support today, but definitely makes some sense. So something that we could add. This is a great thing for jumping in the Canny on. Definitely makes a ton of sense, and we want to continue improving the quality of our settings experience as well. It's asked, will there be a fee for the email connection? Yes, great question, actually. I just didn't talk about this. So let's talk about Keeper emails billing. So first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that at the very least you had some experience that was completely free. So that is your firm inbox. So your firm inbox, which is the email that you use to send emails out of Keeper, will also you'll also be able to read emails inside of Keeper. That is and will always be free. For any personal inboxes that you connect beyond that, there is a $10 per connected email per month fee. So great question, Pizza. All right. Erica asked, can you confirm, are tags still restricted to one per task now, or are tags still restricted to one per task now that they're available for the closed sections? Yes, you can still only have one tag per task. Samantha asked, can Keeper email support multiple emails like Office Manager and the Account Manager? So we, at launch, it will only support one connected user email per user, and then the firm-wide practice email. Shortly after launch, we will be adding the capability for you to connect multiple connected practice emails. You could have like a help at, an info at, and different emails, maybe a sales ad email. And then the other thing that we will be working on adding access to is delegated individual access. So if you are the CEO of your firm or the partner, you run your firm and you have a VA that you want to delegate access to, you'll be able to do that as well, but those won't be available on launch. Rachel asked, will admins see all emails? Sorry if I missed this. So in the firm inbox, everyone sees access to, who has access to firm inbox will see that. And then in the shared email activity, which you can see right here, in your email history, all users who have access to this client will see the shared email activity in the email history. John asked, does Keeper integrate with QuickBooks Online Accountant? Yes, but not in the way that you think. So it's actually a question we get asked quite often. So I will actually just go through the connection process and explain. If you click Connect to QuickBooks and you sign into a client or sign into your user account that has a Keeper or that has a QBOA profile, what you will see is you will get the option to choose Keeper. For example, this is the name of our QBOA account, so I know that's confusing. And then you'll see this option, install for your firm, or you can search for a client. So if you choose install for your firm, this will just add your own practice books inside your QBOA account as another client inside Keeper. There's no other integration beyond that. So for that reason, if you want to have your own practice books inside Keeper, check this box and run through the connection, and it will just add them like another client. Otherwise, just choose the client that you want to add to Keeper, and you add them. Samuel asked, could we get the create close button removed or make it stand out less? We could definitely look into it. I think if you want to make it canny, we can talk about that with the product team. Des asked, I may not understand the full email feature. However, will the client see the individual emails or will they see a general firm email? So your client doesn't see any of these emails. These are like your emails in your inbox. So if you email your client or your client emails you, like that will, from your client's experience, nothing has changed here from a Keeper emails perspective. They will just email you and you'll see that email here in Keeper. So there's no place where the Keeper emails experience touches the like client portal, for example. Samuel asked, will our email signature pull through from Gmail to Keeper? It will not pull through automatically. However, you will be able to add a personal and a firm signature so that you can send emails with your own signature. You'll just have to manually copy that over. Ashley asked, how can you mark prior closes as done in bulk? Best way I would recommend here is either going to this view here, for example, is either going to clicking here on this down arrow and then accessing your closes that way. You can show many closes at once like that, or you can filter here to show instead of showing the latest close, you can show all closes, or you can show only open closes. and then you can come here and mark them as done like this. There is not a way to like bulk select them and then mark all the closes as done. So you will have to click each one individually, but this is the best way to see all of the open closes and decide which ones you want to act on. For the email history in the portal, is that live? I don't see that in my Keeper account. Came in right as you were talking about it. Yes. So this is part of the Keeper emails suite. It is not live today. It should be live in the next couple of weeks. Kirsty asked, if the employee does not have access in QuickBooks, can they adjust transactions in Keeper if they have access? The answer is yes. So if they if they have a client here, the client is connected to Keeper or is connected to QuickBooks, and so they will be able to edit transactions. Anonymous attendee asked, can you clarify the $10 per month fee for the email connection? Is that per client or per practice? It is per connected email. So if you have let's say you have 50 clients and 5 connected emails, you will only pay for those 5 connected emails, which does not include the practice email. The practice email is free. You'll pay for the 5 emails times 10. So it'd be $50 a month for the emails add-on. Monica asked, are we charged for connecting our firm's QBO file to Keeper? If you do connect them as a client, you will be charged for that like any other client. This has been a long-standing desire. We do actually want to add free practice books. It just is not something we have gotten around to prioritizing. So at this time, yes, you will be charged if you add your own practice books. Okay, another question of when is the email feature launching? So it should be in the next couple of weeks. Christy asked, could you direct me to a tutorial for using the reports function? Best recommendation for this is probably the YouTube channel. Thank you, Lauren. I think we should have some dedicated how to use Keeper reporting videos there. Courtney asked, are there any updates on colors in Keeper? I don't like basically the all white and no contrast between items. Yeah, if you want to send us some more specific criticism, we will happily take that into consideration. We definitely want Keeper to be accessible and usable and not hard to read. So yeah, if you want to provide some more detailed feedback there, we'd definitely be happy to explore that. Erica asked, in the email inbox, will you be able to select which email you are responding from if multiple are connected? Answer is yes. Although I will say if you are in like Ben at Keeper Mail, if you reply, you are going to reply from Ben at Keeper Mail because you're like, that's like inbox that it came from. If you compose an email, though, you can choose which connected email you want to reply from. Kirsty asked, will Keeper emails recognize Office 365 groups in my inbox and all my folders? I will have to get back to you on this one. However, you typically cannot connect group emails to Keeper. You have to connect a sort of fully fledged sending and receiving inbox. John asked, one worry with Intuit constantly upgrading QBO features or updating QBO features, will Keeper keep pace without integration issues? I can't predict the future. I will say we have now dealt with Intuit changing things for 4+ years now. So I feel pretty confident about our ability to do that for the next 4. But of course, we rely upon Intuit continuing to be a good partner there. They have been to this point in time. And so I see no reason to expect that to change. It's asked, can we connect email aliases? The answer is no at this time, although this is something that we are exploring. Amy asked a very justified question. When will we be able to create invoices through the receipts function? Let me check with the product team on this one. I'll follow up with you personally. And this is something that we've said we're weeks away from shipping for now. So although I do believe it is actually genuinely weeks away from shipping, I will have to confirm on that one. Make a note. Okay, Linda asked, how can you not allow team workers to see notes for the client if I have sensitive info in that block that I don't want them to see? There's not currently a good way to restrict certain pieces of a client to have access if you don't like if you give a user access. So there's not, I don't currently have a good solution to that question. Terry asked, is there a way to delete old closes in bulk instead of 1 month at a time? Unfortunately, not really. You do have to go one by one. Definitely, this is something that we do want to improve in 2025, though, is better ability to clean up your old closes. Kathleen asked, on background color, allow us to choose by hex code. I'm not sure if I am misunderstanding this question. You should be able to do this. Your background color, this is a hex code. So if you type in hex code, I will populate that. Like FFFFF is all white, 000 is all black. So yeah, I don't know any other. I know 574 FEB is the keeper purple or blue, depending on which side of the debate you land on. But yeah, if you type in hex code, that should work. Okay, Ellen asked, when making changes on the main page, for example, the status changes, every time we make a change, it resets the view rather than just staying put and updating on one line. Is this going to be changed at any point? Not 100% sure I understand what's being asked here. So Ellen, if you want to write into the chat with more detail, we'll take a closer look. Melissa asked, are you planning to allow for customized dates and times for transaction reminder questions to be sent per client? It is something that we have discussed. I can't say it's on the immediate near-term roadmap, but it is definitely something that we are looking into over the course of the the series of updates we have planned for 2025. Sam asked to verify it's $10 per email, even if we are paying for a subscription. Yes, that is correct. So if you don't want to use keeper emails, it's certainly not required. But if you do want to connect your personal email, it does charge $10 per incremental connected email for that. But once again, your firm inbox is completely free. So you don't have to, if you want to just use your firm inbox, so like an info@mypracticename.com, there's no charge for that whatsoever. Ellen asked, is there any update on the Canadian sales tax working better for their seat side of things? Example, meals and entertainment tax code. I'm going to follow up with you here, Ellen, because I do get this feedback and I do want to make sure that the Canadian receipt side of things works as well as possible. So I'm going to follow up with you and would love to see what you're experiencing and how we can make it better. Kirsty asked, any movement towards access for keeper users for me and my employees to add tasks on the go? It is something that we are looking into as a firm-facing mobile app. So I have no promises on when that will be live, but I do know it is something that a lot of y'all want, and we're very, very sympathetic to that. So hopefully I will have an update for you soon. Linda asked, is there a place to store notes and not allow user access to? I think my best recommendation here would be something like creating a client and then only giving yourself access to that client. That would probably be my only recommendation. That's sort of the best place for private storage of data inside Keeper. Sabrina asked, will the 1099 section include specific chart of accounts for 1099 reviews? For instance, a list of payments to landlords that should just have rent value, not utilities payments. So this should be live today in a couple of different options here. Go back here into Prepare 29s in the demo code file. See if I have a good option here to explain this. Let's see if this one works. Okay, well, let's show you. So it's a good example. Okay, so let's say we've got this transaction. And we can see it's 35.84 to rent and lease. But let's say we wanted to itemize this and say this is 25.84 to rent and lease, and then utilities is 1,000. Just gonna split that out. Gonna save this. Okay, so now if we refresh Keeper, you'll see this does show multiple line items. So we've got 44 Main Street. We can see both line items here, and you can see both are currently being included. The reason both are currently being included is I have not excluded the utilities charge. But if I go to my excluded list and exclude utilities and internet, and then that will rerun the report here, we can see we've got 35. The expense amount is 35.84, but the reportable amount is 25.84. So you can see this line item is excluded, and that means the total will only tally up all of the included amounts. So I hope that addresses the question. We'll also briefly mention that we do also have custom 1099 reports where you can say, I only want this to include transactions that are in a particular account. This is particularly useful for like 1099 instant 1099 gives that have both lower than $600 thresholds, and you only want to call out transactions in a certain account. Erica asked, is it correct that there is not a way to make exclusions across multiple clients? That is correct. Chet asked, could the 1099 feature be set to not include accounts by default and instead of needing to exclude most of them? The easy way to do this is just to use the custom 1099 reports, which actually does behave this way. So instead of having an account exclusion list, it has an account inclusion list, and everything is excluded by default. Okay, Christy asked, when I review transactions in reconciliations, I'd like to see all dates. When I add them as new clients, there are 1,000 transactions. What is the fastest way to clean that up? So if we go to like Chase, do I have a Chase checking account? If you wanted to, we'll see if I have a lot of examples in here. I don't, but so fastest way is just to check this box here and then go to set status and switch them to reviewed. That will clear them out 100 at a time. So if you have 1,000, that will be 10 pages you need to do through, but move through, but you should only need to do that once. Chat asked, does the custom 1099 feed over to the default? I am not sure if I understand this question. The things that are tied to the vendor will show up. So if you entered an email address, tax ID, legal name, etc., this will sync to the vendor record in QuickBooks, and also as a result will show up across both. The spend is based on the transactions in the accounts that are included or excluded. So that obviously will not be the same. And 1099 needed, this is synced. So if you do check this box, because this is actually tied to a QuickBooks state, which is the track payments for 1099's purposes checkbox, this will be synced across both. So if you mark them as 1099 needed, it will sync that across both reports. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. Well, folks, thank you all so much for taking the time. I appreciate all of your very thoughtful questions. Hope you all appreciated the updates we made to Keeper. We have a lot more exciting work in store over the coming months and quarters, so stay tuned for all of those. And thank you again so much for the opportunity to work with each of you. I hope you have a good rest of your January. I hope most of you are all done with 1099s, but to the extent you're not, I hope you have an easy last few days. And then to my Canadians in the audience, wishing you all the best of luck with the T4A filing season in February. All right, bye y'all.